What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Ben on Sports. This episode is another weekly prediction NASCAR episode. Sorry it's coming out a day later, but I didn't want to put two episodes out on a Friday, so I figured I put one out on a Friday and one on a Saturday. And when I was doing an end of the month up episode for baseball, it's hard to do the end of the month after games have been played at the start of the next month. So I had to do it after gameplay on April 30th, but before games on May 1st, which is why it came out when it did. I hope you guys understand. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a true end of month at the time of recording, and that's what's important to me. So your NASCAR episode got delayed a day. Really, by the time this comes out, it'll be less than a day. But I hope you guys still enjoy. So let's get into it. Starting with storylines, like always, and the biggest storyline of the week, Carson Hocevar, first career win, already was becoming a popular driver, does great with the Gen Z audience, has a little bit of old school, I don't care about nothing but winning to him. That's always good. And it feels like after this Talladega win, he has just exploded even more. Just fantastic job for Carson getting his first win. You're going to see what it did for him in the point standings a little bit later in this episode. But just amazing first win, and even better celebration. I saw the clip. I don't know if you guys saw. There was a clip of him talking about how he didn't get to catch a beer like he wanted to, but it was still pretty good. Driving out the side of the car, watching the crowd celebrate with him, burning out, getting the car parked to burn out. Just a fantastic celebration. The whole moment was great. Maybe the most viral moment in NASCAR, one of the most viral moments this season so far. Congratulations to Hocevar. I think there's probably a star in the making. And if he continues on this trajectory, maybe even somebody that can challenge Chase Elliott for NASCAR's most popular driver. Hocevar certainly has more personality than most other NASCAR drivers, and he has the mentality and the talent as well. You just hope Spire Motorsports doesn't have the similar thing happen as what Ross Chastain, who was a similar type instance, what happened with Ross at Trackhouse and the team slowing down. And to my third point, yes, there's a star in the making, I think, there with Hocevar. He's always had the talent. He's always had the attitude. He's always had the personality. And I think he could blow up. He's still only 23 years old. Spire Motorsports got a good one. And if they can continue to get consistent speed, they can keep Hocevar there for a long time. And I love I could also see Chili's being a longtime sponsor with Hocevar. They seem like they have a great working relationship as well, and they do great promotion together. It's great branding. Hocevar does a great job with everything Chili's, down to the fire suit. I'm off my Carson Hocevar pedestal. I just thought it's been so important for NASCAR. It's been great for NASCAR. Even if you don't like him, I think him reaching the top echelon of the sport will be good for the sport. However, super speedway racing still sucks. They're still fuel saving. You can't go anywhere. You can't make any moves. It's all about track position, which is not what super speedway racing is supposed to be. The race flat out sucked on Sunday. The best part about the race was the post-race celebration in the week that Carson Hocevar has had since, in my opinion. Super speedway racing still sucks big time, in my opinion, and it is essential, absolutely essential, for NASCAR to get it fixed however they can. There's a lot of solutions being thrown out there. I appreciate the fact that they tried something this week with changing the stage lengths around, changing when the long stage was, but super speedway racing still sucks in NASCAR. And that's just the long and the short of it to me. Most of this next gen era super speedway racing has sucked. Just like most of the super speedway era, a lot of the short track racing has sucked. The short track's getting better. Super speedway needs to get better as well. Mistakes on pit road. A lot of big names, playoff guys that expect to win races every year. Cindric pops into my brain. Denny Hamlin, Chase Briscoe. A lot of guys had pit road issues. Those aren't the only three. A lot of drivers with pit road issues, various kinds of pit road issues, all kinds of different things. Speeding, mistakes by the pit crew going through your pit stall, having to back up, all kinds of crazy stuff on pit road. And that's why it is essential that you execute there, because a lot of the guys that got stuck out back early on in that race from those pit road mistakes got caught up in that massive wreck in stage 2. And it cost them their race. When you're now, everybody got caught up in that wreck, but still, when you're unless you're in the back, it's it's hard to avoid those wrecks. And it just shows how easy it is for one mistake to snowball. And because of that, lots of big names crashed out. A lot of big names had point days. A lot of the names at the very top of the point standings didn't have good days. A lot of the people around the cut line and kind of towards the back, but some of the guys in that middle range had some good days though. And some of the guys that are way out of the playoffs had a good point days, but mostly a lot of those big names that are good on most tracks did not have good days and wrecked out. That was a big story as well, and because of that, you see some movement along certain sections of the point standings. History at Texas in the next gen. I am not including the All-Star race that was here, or All-Star races. I am just including the 4 points paying races at Texas. But I will mention in these winners, Ryan Blaney has been fast in All-Star race performance at Texas and has won at Texas with the All-Star race. I did partially factor that into my decision making, but recent winners for the points races: Tyler Reddick back when he was still Chevy, William Byron won the next September race in 2023. Reddick's was 2022. Chase Elliott won last spring race, or won 2024 spring race. And then Joey Logano won last year's spring Texas race. Texas is down to 1 race a season. Best average finish, William Byron at 6.0. And then Daniel Suarez and Joey Logano were tied at 8.8. Brad Keselowski at 11.3. And Chase Briscoe, despite a really bad performances from Toyota here, it feels like, including him last race, is still into the top, is still 5th in average finish at 12. Most top 5s, there's 5 drivers tied at 2 top 5s. Ryan Blaney, Tyler Reddick, William Byron, Ross Chastain, and Joey Logano. 9 drivers are tied at 1. Christopher Bell, Bubba Wallace, Daniel Suarez, Kyle Larson, Brad Keselowski, Eric Jones, Denny Hamlin, Chase Elliott, and Chase Briscoe. Again, with only 4 races, there hasn't been a lot of opportunity for guys to separate in some of these stats. Most top 10s, 4 drivers tied at 3. William Byron, Daniel Suarez, Brad Keselowski, and Chase Briscoe. 11 drivers are tied at 2 top 10s. Joey Logano, Denny Hamlin, Austin Dillon, Eric Jones, Ross Chastain, Kyle Larson, Tyler Reddick, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Ryan Blaney, Bubba Wallace, and Christopher Bell. Not a lot of Toyotas. You see a little bit of Toyota, but you see a lot of Chevy, and you see a decent amount of Ford. That's how it's been in the next gen era. I will say there was Toyota probably should have gotten a win here with Denny Hamlin, if you remember. And then late caution comes out. Then Denny Hamlin ends up backwards in the wall and finishes 30th in a race that he was really fast running in first until the late caution. So maybe Toyota isn't as bad as it seems here. Maybe they are. But the finishes have certainly not been what Toyota expects at Texas in the next-gen era, which is why in my team rankings, Joe Gibbs Racing is not second or first like they normally are at 1.5 miles, and instead they are third. Usually Hendrick and Joe Gibbs are 1 and 2 for me on 1.5 miles for the most part. Every once in a while, 23XI will pop up. But I have Hendrick 1 and Penske 2. Hendrick is the only race team to win multiple races. Chevy has won 3 of the 4. Chevy performs really well here. And somebody that needs a really good day that drives a Team Hendrick Chevy that has been really good at Texas is William Byron. He's my favorite to win, followed by Ryan Blaney at number 2. I think those are the 2 favorites this weekend. Chase Elliott, number 3, coming off of a good week, top 5 in points. Maybe Chase Elliott has another good day at a track he's won it in the next-gen era. Kyle Larson still looking for his first win of the year. Hendrick and Chevy have both been fast here. Larson hasn't picked up a win here yet in the next gen. Maybe this is his opportunity. Logano won this race last year. He has good numbers here. Team Penske in particular has been good here. RFK has had a little bit of speed for the Fords. I have Joey Logano 5th. Denny Hamlin, I already mentioned that race. Maybe this is too low for Denny Hamlin in 1.5 miles. Usually on 1.5 miles intermediates, you expect to see Denny Hamlin in the top 5. He's had speed here before, but Toyota does not have consistent speed here, so I have Denny Hamlin at 6. Brad Keselowski at 7 has good finishes here. They seem to have consistent speed. RFK does at 1.5 miles. I think Brad Keselowski should be vying for a top 10 here. Maybe not a win. Maybe he finds his way to get there, but definitely top 10 fast. Chris Buescher, very similar to Brad Keselowski. Buescher's been fast at Texas. He's a Texas boy. I expect him to show out with RFK. Tyler Reddick has won a race here, although it wasn't with his current team. He still has had some speed. He's won 5 of the 10 races this season, so it's hard to completely count him out. And usually Toyota and 23XI finds a way to be fast at mile and a half. Toyota's still looking for the first win here. Maybe they finally get it. And I was going to put somebody like Chase Briscoe 10, who's been really good at Texas. He's been the most consistent mile and a half driver over the last 5 or 6 races, in my opinion. Been fast at Texas, but JGR hasn't been too fast here, and they performed really poorly last season at Texas. So I decided to take Chase Briscoe out. I was deciding for maybe Alex Bowman, who has some good finishes here, or a Bubba Wallace. Guys like that. But you know what? I settled on Carson Hocevar. Or I even thought about Daniel Suarez on the same race team. Spire seems to be getting more and more consistent, especially at mile and a half. And Daniel Suarez was good, but I just think Carson Hocevar has really figured it out. I think he is consistently the fastest Spire Motorsports car, regardless of track type. He's been fast a mile and a half quite a few times the last few seasons for Spire. Chevy's been really good at Texas. He's coming off of a win, going to have momentum. I think Carson Hocevar has a real chance at a top 10 this weekend. Let me know in the comments below what race team and what driver are your favorites to win this weekend at Texas. Regular season standings. Tyler Reddick gained 5 points on Denny Hamlin as they both had bad weeks. Tyler Reddick with 5 of the wins in 10 races this season. 484 points, which is a 110-point lead over second place Denny Hamlin. Still has a 100-point cushion to second place. Shows how incredible has been this year. Ryan Blaney, 344 points, 140 back, 30 points back a second, so there is a little gap there. But Chase Elliott, who did have a good day last week at Talladega, one of the few, like the only guy in the top 5 that did. Chase Elliott only 4 points back of Blaney. Then it is another 18 points back to Ty Gibbs, who's at 322. Kyle Larson, the first non-winner in the standings, with a 315 points. Chris Buescher making a huge jump all the way up to 7th, had a very good points day at Talladega. A lot of the people in front of him did not. He's up to 309 and only 6 back of Kyle Larson. He's also the last driver over 300. Carson Hocevar becoming your newest race winner, winning it last week. He went from 12th in points to 8th in points in 1 week. That's how important winning races can be. Yes, he had some stage points, but the wins are worth so much in this new format. Hocevar, 292 points, jumping from 12th to 8th. Christopher Bell had a bad week, had some trouble at times in this race. He is at 290 points, just 2 back of Carson Hocevar. You got to think Bell will rebound. Brad Keselowski at 279 points, had a solid points week. He's 205 back of Reddick, 11 back of Christopher Bell, and he rounds out the top 10. Here's something you don't see 10 races into the season too often. William Byron outside of the top 10 after another rough race at Talladega, this one not due to his own fault. He is in 11th at 277 points, 2 back of Keselowski for 10th. Bubba Wallace is 1 back of Byron at 276 after getting wrecked from the lead, which caused that big wreck that a lot of these cars got caught up in. Ryan Preece didn't have the day he wanted, still had an okay day. He's still 13th in points, hanging out in that back half to the back quarter of the playoff cars. Ryan Preece with 269 points, 7 back of Bubba. And then another big drop-off happens to 14th. Daniel Suarez had a solid day. He goes up to 14th place, but he has 235 points, which is 34 short of 13th. Joey Logano is in 15th, just 1 point back of Daniel Suarez. Logano moves up a spot. Austin Cindric, 8 points back of his teammate Joey Logano, in the final playoff spot with 226. Chase Briscoe did all of that work after an awful start to get to 15th and get into the playoffs, and then makes a pit road mistake, gets caught up in the wreck, and gets 8 laps down or something like that. So Briscoe falls back out of the playoffs with 222 points, just 4 points behind Cindric and 12 behind Logano, 13 behind Suarez. It's getting very close on the cut line. And Logano, Cindric, and Briscoe are all guys who won races last year and expect to win races and be in the playoffs every year. Ross Chastain went from 21st to 18th with a solid day, a good points day, gets him closer to that cut line. He's at 205, which is very far back of Reddick, minus 279, but he's only 21 points back of Cindric on the cut line. Shane Van Gisbergen continues to fall, but he hasn't quite bottomed out yet. He's the first driver in the top 20 below 200 points. He's at 195, which is 10 points back of his teammate Ross Chastain in 18th and 31 back of the cut line. And then Zane Smith with a solid weekend gets enough points to jump into the top 20, a place you don't see him too frequently. He is at 183, which is 43 points back of the cut line, which is pretty big when you're not routinely getting stage points and good points for finishes. It's hard to point your way all the way up there, especially with some of the guys in front of him. But that is where your regular season point standings currently stand. Reddick still absolutely crushing the field, even after his first bad week of the season. Really says a lot that a lot of the contenders also had bad weeks. It was very good for Reddick that the week he had a bad week and wrecked on a super speedway. All of his contenders did too. Nobody gained ground, and he actually gained 5 points to second place. And then all of this information I'm going to put together in my power rankings like I do every week. Tyler Reddick still at 1. That one's self-explanatory. Denny Hamlin didn't have a good day, but he's still 2, still second in points. I have no concern with Denny Hamlin yet. Chase Elliott did have a good week. He gained quite a few points on the guys in front of him, got a couple spots. He's up to 3rd in my power rankings, going to a track that he has won at. Kyle Larson, whatever at Talladega, he's still solid on points. I think when he finally gets that first race win, it'll do wonders for his points. He's been getting close. I think he could get his first next-gen Texas win this weekend. Ryan Blaney needs a bounce-back. Rough week for him. I believe that's 2 weeks in a row. Ryan Blaney needs a rebound race. He's still 3rd in points. He's still okay, but you don't want to stack too many bad weeks in a row, especially when Tyler Reddick is running away from the rest of the field in points. Ty Gibbs, after winning 2 weeks ago, was okay. I guess at this point it's going to be 3 weeks ago after the race. So 2 weeks ago was just okay. Last week at Talladega, got caught up in all of that mess, wrecked, had a bad points day, so he falls down a little bit. Can Ty Gibbs rebound and work his way back into the top 5 where I have had him? Chris Buescher, 7th in points. He's 7th on this list, had a solid day. Chris Buescher always seems like he's always finding ways to finish well, and right now that is plenty enough to get him close to that top 6, which is where everybody wants to be at the end of the year to have a chance to win. Carson Hocevar moving all the way up to 8th in my power rankings, and with another good week could knock on the door of the top 5. Wins mean a lot, but it's hard to go from very far back into the front, especially when sometimes I have reasonable doubts to your consistency. But Carson Hocevar has moved up to 8th, firmly in the top 10 for maybe the first time I've ever had him in the top 10 in my power rankings. Christopher Bell staying at 9. Bubba Wallace showed some speed, so it's enough to keep him at 10 despite his point standings. He got wrecked through no fault of his own. William Byron at 11, where he is on point. So many of these guys got wrecked. It's hard to shake them all out. Chase Briscoe was at the front at the beginning of the race. Now, that was because there was no qualifying and he finished well, but he also showed that he could stay out front. Again, is that also partially because super speedway racing is so bad? Maybe. But for now, I'm going to leave him at 12. Brad Keselowski at 13, and I'm also close to putting him in the top 10. He's been running consistent. He's ahead of some of these guys on points. One more week that he's better than some of these guys, I will put him in my top 10. Ryan Preece, I don't have much to say. He's kind of been around here essentially the entire season. He's very consistent, and he's consistently that 8 to 12, 8 to 15 range. Every once in a while gets to the top 5 with some stage points. He did win a stage, but didn't finish quite as well as I would have thought he would have. Joe Logano, 15th. I don't think much needs to be said there. This 22 team has not had the start of the season that they wanted. They're not in a terrible point situation, but they also haven't had as many races where they're out front as they want, I think. Joe Logano, 15. Suarez with a solid week, back into the top 16. Ross Chastain also jumping up a few spots to 17 with his week. If those guys can have success at a track that they both have had success in the past, they could continue to move up as well. Austin Cindric 18. That's kind of where he normally is in the points and how I view him. The second half, the bottom half of the top 20. And then Zane Smith and Todd Gilliland, the front row motorsports cars, I have filling out 19th and 20th. They had good point weeks to help them pass a couple of cars around the 20th position. The back of the teens and the top of the 20s have been really close all season. Those guys are always changing hands about where they are in points. But Zane Smith and Todd Gilliland both have been looking a little bit better, I think, the last couple weeks, and they both had good races last week, and they're both slowly coming up the point standings a little bit, so I figured I would reward them with 19 and 20th. I think everybody has the same number one power ranking, but if you want to, let me know what else I have in this top 20. Let me know who I have wrong, who needs to be higher, who needs to be lower, and who I have just right. That's all I have for you guys today. Please, please, please listen to this, guys. Like, comment, and subscribe. It's so helpful for me when you guys like, comment, and subscribe. So please hop in to the comment section. Please go hit the like button, hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a video. Make sure you guys find a couch this week. Plenty of great sports on. Second rounds for the NBA and NHL playoffs are going to start this weekend, it seems. The rest are going to start early next week. Some series still have to finish a couple of game sevens on the docket, it seems. And obviously a NASCAR race at Texas. Some college sports are having championship weekends. Plenty of great action. So make sure you guys find a couch and watch it. I forgot about the MLB. I should have mentioned them as well. Please, please, please take care of yourself. Take care of your family. Take care of your friends. It's a crazy world out there. So stay safe. Stay safe. Peace out.